let's just meditate on this for just a moment, please. Thursday, the 16th, first thing you need to do is your DMP. Now, I know most of you are thinking, oh, we don't have to do that. She's not going to grade it. It's not required. But guys, I'm telling you, we've been focusing on fractions all this week and all last week. And I would hate for you to waste all that you have learned this year because you're letting all those other math skills just kind of fall by the wayside. So make sure that you are doing your DMP. All right, so I'm going to start today with a little challenge. Let's see, okay? I have some fractions that I would like for you to solve. All right, so we had 5/12 plus 3/12. Underneath it, you have 1 whole minus 3/9. So think about what fraction 1 whole would be. 3/4 plus 1 2/4, and 6/8 plus 3/8. Pause it for just a moment and see if you can figure those out. All right, so now that you have figured those out and you are back, let me give you some answer choices. Okay, now I have simplified or reduced my fractions. You may or may not have to do that when you are doing problems and you have some choices, but I always like to make that an option. So take a look at the answers that you got and take a look at the choices that I have for you. If you have some that match, then you know that's probably it. If you don't have some that match, then why don't you see if you can redo those problems and figure out your answer choices. Go ahead and pause it so you can do that now. All right, let's see how you did. All right, so when I take 5/12 plus 3/12, that actually gives me 8/12, and 8/12 reduces to B, 2/3. When I have 1 minus 3/9, technically that 1, if I were to put that into a fraction, would be 9/9. So 9/9 minus 3/9 is 6/9, which reduces to 2/3. All right, next I have 3/4, plus 1 2/4. All right, if I just take the number 1 out of it, that gives me 5/4. And 5/4 is an improper fraction, okay? So 5/4 changes to 1 1/4. And 1 1/4 plus that 1 that we took out is C, 2 1/4. And then lastly, 6/8 plus 3/8 is 9/8, which is an improper fraction, which changes to 1 1/8. So, how did you do? If you did really well, good job. If not, you may want to create yourself some more practice fraction questions. All right, so let's look at the assignment that you should be doing for today. Right here. Oh, I have it zoomed. Sorry, give me a second. Alternate minus. All right, I have it zoomed. Oh, there's my finger. Lucky you. All right, so this is the assignment that you are working on today. We're working on together. So make sure that as I am doing it and we're doing it on paper, that you're doing it here. Now, I have uploaded these Thinking Up pages on their own in its own PDF document, so that if you want to print them at home and work on it at home as I'm working on it at home, you can, but just remember the answers actually have to be on this page, okay? Don't turn in the PDF document of the Thinking Up. I have to have just this Google slide presentation turned in. All right, here we go. All right, move these out of the way. Get my page for today. Oh, I have it in a different spot than I normally have it. Move all my stuff. There's my Greek. All right, so today is this extension. And normally when you see extension, you think, oh, those are supposed to be harder. Those are supposed to be more challenging. And yeah, they are a little bit. but not anything that we can't do, not anything that you can do. All right, so let's look at the first one. Maggie helped her mom paint the fence. The fence has 8 sections, and each section has 4 boards. Maggie and her mom painted 2 1/4 of the sections of the fence on Monday, and then on Tuesday, they painted 3 1/4 sections of the fence. Used different colors to shade the fence sections that Maggie and her mom painted on Monday and Tuesday. So here is our, if I turn that light off, is it better or, I can't decide. Okay. It's not late today, but it's kind of cloudy because it's supposed to start raining. So the first thing they want us to do is they want us to paint this fence, okay? And it looks like there's 8 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's 4 little panels on each one, okay? So you just pick whichever one you want to pick. I want to say that on Monday, I'm going to do the 2 1/4 on Monday. So that would be 1 and 2, and then there's just the 4th. And then on Tuesday, I'm going to say, I'm going to use pink. Use whatever color you want if you have printed this out. 3 1/4. So there's 1, 2, 3, and a 4th. So the question says, how many sections of the fence do they need to paint on Wednesday in order to complete the job? So in order to finish, they're going to have to paint these 2 sections, and that's one whole section and another whole section, and then these 2 parts, okay? And that would be 2/4. So they're going to need to do 2 2/4 on Wednesday in order to finish that job. Now it's asking us to create 2 equations that we would need in order to solve that. Well, you don't know it, but you actually already have kind of done that. If you look at 2 1/4 and 3 1/4, we put those 2 things on here and we put those together. So technically we kind of added those together. So that's one equation, 2 1/4 plus 3 1/4. That gives us the total amount that they did. And that gives us 5 2/4, or 5 1/2. So basically they did 5 1/2 sections of the 8 panels that are total. All right, and then another equation that you could use is the way that we figured out how many was left. And the way that we did that was there were 8 total sections. And if we subtract 5 2/4, which is what they painted, then you're going to get your answer. Okay? Now, remember 8 would be made up of 8 ones, and each one of those ones would be 4/4. And that would give us what we had left, which was 2 2/4. That wasn't too bad. All right, now, reflection on my learning. So we're looking at now all the different ways that we use fractions all the time without realizing it. We use fractions quite a bit. It says, how are fractions used with each of the following? Use words and pictures, or pictures for me, to explain your thinking. All right, so it's got a number line, a ruler, cooking, and a clock. Well, number lines, gosh, we have used those several times, even just this week. Okay, so we looked at different number lines this week. This is one that we looked at earlier. Number lines are all made of fractions, okay? Here we have from 0 to 2, and all the places between those are considered fractions, okay? So how do we use it on a number line? Oh, I'm using the wrong, I usually use a different camera angle. Okay, number line. So I'm just gonna draw one of those number lines that we showed earlier this week. I'm guessing when you're doing your answers on here, maybe you don't need to draw it, you can just write it, okay? So we know that when using a number line that all the places between 0 and 1 are fractions. So when you're doing this answer on your paper, you could draw a little number line right there, but that would be hard. You know what you could do? You could import an image of a number line too, and then just type out that answer right there. All right, when using a ruler is so much like a number line. When you have a ruler, let's say we're doing centimeters, and this is 3 centimeters, and this is 4 centimeters. We know that there's these little marks in between. There's actually 9 of them, because 10 millimeters make 1 centimeter. So on a ruler, all those little marks between 3 and 4 are actually fractions. Okay, fractions of a centimeter. In cooking, we've had several problems this week that have been about cooking. So whenever I'm using a recipe, I'm using fractions. So if I'm making cookies or if I'm making a cake, I might have to use 2 1/4 cups of flour. I might have to use 1 1/2 cups of sugar. So all of those are different ways that we use fractions. And then a clock. If we think about it, when you have our clock, and there's different times on a clock. Sometimes I'll say, oh, it's 12:30, or it's 3:15, or it's 3:15. So all of those things, like so from here to there, we say is half past 12, right? And if I say that it's 12:30, that means it's 12:30. All right, and the last question is for you to look at those 9 traits of critical thinking. Think about the ones that you most often used this week and explain how you used that critical thinking trait. All right, and I will see you tomorrow.